The
illustrious Jabba bids you welcome. I'm going to regret this.
I'm Pete Mitchell. He's Peyton Jones. And this is the Church Planter Podcast, brought to you by Church Planter Magazine. Hey, Church Planter, this is Pete Mitchell, and welcome to the Church Planter Podcast. It's time for a Corona, I believe. It's Corona time? No? Too soon?
Well, you're not Baptist, so.
Well, that's true. But I haven't had anything to drink in like a year, so, I mean.
Has it been that long?
Actually, yeah. What are we in, March? It probably has been a year. Crazy.
Well, that was the time I was at the grocery store and there was a ton of alcohol that was like buy one get one free. not that I was looking down the aisles. Yeah, not that I was looking down the aisles, but just walking around, there was a lot of
That's actually not. I mean, that's good for disinfectant. Like if you get some strong proof stuff, like that's not a bad gig at all.
I guess it works.
I mean, now's the time to stock up. Anyway, guys, as you can hear. That is not Peyton Jones with me. Peyton Jones is busy doing his book. He's complaining that he has to do a textbook, and the rest of us are watching the world burn. But he's doing a textbook, and so I've got the one and only Travis Sinks with me. Welcome to the podcast, Travis.
Oh, thanks, Pete. Appreciate it.
And some of you attended the live stream that Travis and I did this last week. We just wanted to take a little break from everything that's going on with the coronavirus and being on lockdown and everything else that's coming with that. And so we did this live stream where we shared with churches, specifically with how churches, a nonprofit, official 501c3 nonprofit churches, can get basically $10,000 a month in free advertising forever. Or I should say low cost if you have Travis do it, but basically free. I mean, and so we wanted to share this because right now with everything that's going on in the world, and again, depending on what state you're in, you could be in a rational state. I live in a very irrational state, the communist state of California, where we've got dictators telling everyone what they can and can't do as if somehow they have the authority to do this. And everyone just buys into it. Sorry, man, I'm not on the From Concealment podcast, but I get going, man, on this topic. But the bottom line is people are being stuck in their homes. And this is happening in multiple states. And there's the theory, I think a very strong theory, that it's going to go nationwide very, very shortly. In fact, I heard yesterday Texas declared it. They declared it. Did you like that?
Oh, they did?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's starting to creep into multiple states, not just us crazies, but even the rational states. And so the point is, and what we brought up on the live stream that we did is that people are stuck in their homes. They have nothing better to do. So they're Netflixing. And in fact, this was interesting. I saw a report that Netflix in Europe is slowing down their bit rate because they don't want to break the internet. Like Europe is where the epicenter of all this is. And everybody's staying home and Netflixing. And it's like literally about to break the internet in Europe, which is crazy when you think about it.
That's pretty great.
And so, I mean, that's coming to a United States near you because that's going to happen here next, no doubt. And the point is though, everybody is stuck in their home and they're going to get bored with Netflix. I already can't stand Netflix because I've seen literally everything on there that I want to see. And
all the good stuff has moved to Disney Plus. So
yeah, kind of. I don't even really like all that stuff either. So I'm like, maybe just the Marvel stuff, but that's it.
Yeah.
And I've seen all that. And I own all of it. So I'm like, I don't even care that it's on Disney Plus. But bottom line is people are stuck. And that means they're bored, and they're going to be all over social media, and they're going to be all over Google. And so what we kind of want to do here is we want to share with you some of the things that we talked about on that live stream, and then just encourage you, since you're probably stuck at home too, why don't you go check out the recording of the live stream? And I'm going to tell you right now where you can find it. And then we'll tell you a couple more times just so you've got it. I'll put it in the show notes as well. But you want to go to churchplannermagazine.com/120, 120. And basically that stands for 120,000 a year in free advertising. So that's why we did it as 120. So churchplannermagazine.com/120. But Travis, first of all, why don't you tell everyone your explanation of what Google is, as opposed to, or not opposed to, but it's basically the yellow pages. Why don't you explain that whole concept to everyone?
Yeah, totally. Obviously there's a lot of places to advertise, and you guys on the podcast have talked about the differences between print versus digital. But there's even differences in digital spaces. And I think you may have dove in that here as well. But the way to think about advertising with Google is think of it kind of like the yellow pages, where when we used to have a physical book in our homes, we would have, we'd go to that when we had a specific specific problem, specific solution that we needed to get. So if you needed a plumber, you'd pick up the yellow pages, you would go to P, you would look at plumbers. If you needed a church, you go to C, and you go to Christian churches. So the yellow pages was kind of the classic example for Google, where when people have a question now, they go to google.com and type in the search bar, churches near me, or youth groups near me, or family ministries near me. And they find what they're looking for that way. And so essentially, when you're thinking about how people are going to find you online, one of the big ways they're going to go to what's called a search engine, Google being the biggest one. And they're going to type in questions or type in phrases that will lead them to what they're looking for, the solution they're looking for, the problem they're looking to fix, or the place they're looking to go to.
Yeah. And so here's the thing, guys, that I want everyone to really understand, not just the opportunity that's available, but what's going on in the world. Think about whatever ministry you have in your church right now, whether you've got, divorce recovery, you've got Alcoholics Anonymous, Celebrate Recovery, Narcotics Anonymous.
Just flat out youth ministries and normal Sunday services even.
Yeah. Grief ministry. I mean, all the different type of ministries that your church might have. And I don't know what your church has, but people are going to be Googling for solutions to what you've got. Mm-hmm. They're going to be Googling for your solution. They're going to be Googling, hey, there was a great meme that I saw the other day. It said, there's going to be a baby boom, but there's also going to be a lot of divorces and justifiable homicides after this lockdown. And I'm like, yeah, man, because a lot of people are not used to being with their spouse so much. Like,
yeah, right. Or their kids.
Exactly, right. I mean, I work at home. So for me, it's like not really all that different. For my wife, it's totally different because of the kids being home. And so she's like going out of her mind every day. And I'm like, okay, don't poke the bear. Like, let's be really careful about what I say around here, because she's doing really good. And I don't want to be the one that just sends her over the edge. But there's going to be a lot of issues that people are going to be Googling, answers to. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I've always talked about, and I've brought it up on the podcast before, and that is divorce. When it comes to divorce, there's usually one person who doesn't want it.
Yeah.
And so they Google stop your divorce. In fact, a guy by the name of Dean Jackson set up a website like 20 years ago, and it's always made money for him. And it's called stopyourdivorce.com, because he was the one guy who was like, hey, I'll show you how to stop your divorce. And I have no idea what he has in there or anything, because I know he's gone through a divorce since then. So I don't know anything about it. But the point is that people are struggling right now. And if your church has a ministry, you kind of have an incredible opportunity to be able to share the gospel with people who are actively searching for the solution that you have.
Yeah.
whether it's, Alcoholics Anonymous, grief recovery, anything that you do. And like you said, youth groups, but the problem with youth groups right now, you can't really do those. And and I'm not convinced that like our church, they shut down the youth group thing on Wednesday and they did a live stream.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I can get my 8-year-old to watch a live stream service. I don't know.
Yeah. What I've seen a lot of churches doing, at least the parents are for it, was we saw some of them giving out materials for the parents to do with the kids or things like that, especially
some more homework for the parents. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, some more things that they can, essentially give the kids to do or discuss with the kids in lieu of, obviously the getting together right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I'm looking at this going, I tell this to my business owners that I consult with. I'm like, look, right now is the time you want to be massively taking action because everyone else is running for the hills. Right now we're seeing ad costs go way down because everyone's turning off their ads.
Yeah.
And that means it's going to be cheaper. And of course, if you go through the program that Travis lays out at churchplantermagazine.com/120, you could actually get all of your ad costs covered for free. Again, it's a special thing for nonprofits that he goes over in that webinar that we did, the live stream that we did. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, look, churches right now, I get that they're freaking out, especially smaller churches that really live off of that tithe. And they're like, great, now we're not meeting. What's going to happen? I get that. Yeah. But first of all, none of this is a surprise to God.
Yeah.
God knew what was coming. He knew what was up. So trust that God's got everything under control. I mean, one of the things that Travis and I talked about like a week ago, it's a C.S. Lewis quote, and it basically says, if you could see everything that God could see, you'd be doing the exact same thing that God's doing. And just know that God sees everything. He knows what's going on, and he's taking the best path for us. We just can't see it all. That's why we freak out, because we can't see it. And so I would just tell business owners right now, I'm like, you need to be advertising. You need to be advertising like crazy, because right now you have an incredible opportunity to suck up the marketplace. Mm-hmm. And you may not suck it up today, meaning people are going to go out of their house and go buy your widget, whatever you're selling or your service, but they are going to buy again. I mean, when all of this is over, the American working man and woman is going to go to work. They're going to make a quality product. It's going to be sold in a global marketplace at a profit. That's what's going to happen.
Well, essentially, do you want to generate leads now today for 50 cents or tomorrow for $1? Because you're going to sell to them either way tomorrow, but you can get the leads now.
Right. You can develop the relationship, and you can literally, as a business owner, you can put off all your competition, your business. As a church, this just means you get to reach more people in your community for Christ.
Yeah, especially when they're freaked out.
Exactly, right? Because everyone's freaking out. And I mean, here in California, right, we're recording this on Friday. This is going to air on Monday. And here on Friday, the supposedly there's a potential cure that's been tested. And obviously it's a very, very small test, but it's an incredible result that they've got. In fact, it was so incredible. They're like, we have to let everyone know what we're finding right now.
Yeah.
Malaria medication that we've had for a really long time. And, in 6 days, people are getting cured off of coronavirus. And I remember emailing one of my buddies and I said, good, does this mean everyone can stop freaking out because we have a cure and it's 6 days and you're fine and, let's move on?
We can, but we won't.
Yeah. And then, our governor out here goes, we're panicking. The sky is falling. Everyone stays home from now on, or we're taking you to jail. Like that's my great, great state of California, which they are going to lose everybody when all this is over. Everyone in California is going to be like, I am getting the heck out of this state because this state has lost its mind.
Dude, that'd be time to buy up some real estate.
I know, right? It really is. Cash is king during times like this. So why don't you share some of the other things that people can do with this program that we talked about on the live stream?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, obviously we cover the big bulk of it, where you're getting $120,000 worth of ads for basically 2,000, and you don't have to do any work to accomplish that. But the benefit of people being able to find what they're looking for and have you be able to bring them Jesus in it. So the examples you gave, like looking for help with their marriage, looking for help with their addiction, looking for help with homelessness, or needing food, or just needing help in different ways, whether it be spiritual or physical, emotional. We can be available essentially to them, be findable where they're looking. And then as we're giving them the help they need, we can give them Jesus and say, this is the ultimate help you need. And so, I mean, it really fills all of those things that Jesus tells us to do about, giving people a cool drink of water and giving people food when they need it, and things like that. When people are looking for help, Google's where a lot of times they look for that help, especially when they're, they'll ask friends or family, but then, eventually they will turn to Google and Google their symptoms and Google their problems. And we as a church can be there. And so, as far as your ministries, especially now, obviously it takes some brainstorming to figure out how are we going to adjust to people being locked in their homes for an indefinite amount of time. But there's ways to do that. And people are still searching on Google for both what to do while they're bored at home, but also what to do while they're emotionally frantic, and still looking for problems that, some of them, like you mentioned, divorce. People are probably noticing how much they don't get along with their spouse a little bit more now, or how they're having problems with their kids. And so they're looking on parenting tips and things like that, in this type of context. But, even just taking your normal ministries that you have and finding how can we accomplish these in a digital environment. All of these things are going to be searched on Google right now. And,
and the other thing too is think about, taking advantage of the fact that we can all do virtual meetings nowadays, right? So
yeah,
I have to do a whole bunch of meetings this next week, and they're all virtual. They're all basically done on Zoom, and you can get a free Zoom account for one-on-one meetings, and it's free. It literally doesn't cost you anything. And even I think I got the pro version that allows me to have 100 people on it at once. And that was only $130 a year. So, it wasn't even it was that much, but, here's the point that I'm getting at. So let's say you've got a divorce recovery or a grief recovery or a counseling section, family counseling, and people are Googling that stuff. You could be offering, hey, during this coronavirus, we're offering free virtual sessions, click here to sign up.
Yeah.
And you can reach people that way. And just literally do it via Zoom and right there in their home. In fact, one of our family friends is a doctor at the local hospital here. And so, my wife, she takes our kids to the park every day because there's nothing else to do, right? And even though that's kind of like breaking the now California Gestapo law that they got, they do say you can walk outside for exercise. So we count it as exercise. And
there you go.
That's that. At least they say you can today. They're going to take it away, man.
Yeah, I was going to say.
This is, you actually said it perfectly. Like, how do you boil a frog? You just slowly turn up the heat, right?
Yeah.
They can't all at once tell you, everything that's coming down the pipe. But, and so she texts our friend and says, hey, we're going to the park. Do you want to meet us over there? Oh, maybe we'll just FaceTime, right? So she's part of the crowd that's like, no, we're not going to go talk to anyone. We're not going to see anyone. And I'm thinking, you work in a hospital, you're going to get it. There's no two ways around it. You're going to get it, and you're going to share it with all your family. So maybe it is good that your family's not meeting with my family. But
right.
But literally just take advantage of the technology that we have right now and being able to do these virtual meetings and live streams, and then take advantage of Google, because the program that we talk about, or that really Travis goes into, it's a special program specifically for nonprofits that Travis covers on that live stream, and they will pay for all of your ad spend up to $10,000 a month. And that's why we say, Yeah, indefinitely. And that's why we say it's 120,000, a year, but that's just 1 year's worth, right? And, he goes into how you keep the account in good standing and, keep Google happy and all this other stuff. And that's why you want to go check it out at churchplantermagazine.com/120. But to me, I'm looking at that and I'm going, okay, so now church, if you're worried about money, but you still have the passion to reach your community, this is your opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Take advantage of this program that's available to you before it goes away and reach your community for literally pennies on the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And there's never been a time like this ever. I mean, I literally am looking at this going, why in the world isn't every church out there jumping all over this? Because if I was a church, I would totally be doing it. In fact, I told Travis, I'm like, I'm thinking, how do I start a 501c3? Because I want to take advantage of basically $10,000 a month in free ads. This is insane.
Yeah.
What they're offering.
Well, what's awesome about doing it in this context with everyone being boarded up in their homes and having to do it online is you can actually test out ministries that you're like, oh, we've been thinking about doing a marriage ministry, but we don't know if there's enough people in our area who need that kind of stuff. Right now, it's all going to be one-on-one, whether you like it or not, rather than setting aside entire, nights with your church and having all this overhead of volunteers and costs and stuff like that. You can be like, hey, we're going to test this. And if no one signs up in a couple weeks, then we know this isn't something our community is really interested in or needs. Because sometimes you don't know what your community needs until you try.
Yeah.
But during this coronavirus scare, you could basically test out 20 different ministries, the digital version. And whichever ones really were successful, you just transition to a in-person one after all this is over. And you've already found what, ministries will be really good in your community with your church and context.
One of my buddies who is in Florida, he basically trains martial arts schools on how to start after-school programs and really take their enrollments to a significantly higher level. Like everyone who goes through his program, their businesses grow like crazy. And so, of course, what they're pushing right now, which to me was just crazy to hear, is virtual classes for kids. And they're doing them via Zoom. Mm-hmm. Like this one guy had already signed up 16 kids to do like Taekwondo via Zoom. And I'm like, that is just crazy to me.
Yeah.
But that's the world we live in today that we didn't necessarily live in 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And after all this is done, they may end up keeping the digital version. Like people may have liked it and they may not have traveled to go there before.
But I'm also looking at that going, okay, if a martial arts school can have a digital version, why can't a church have a digital version? I'm like, do you have someone in your church that's into martial arts? I mean, can you, have them do something for the kids? Do you have personal fitness trainers who could offer that as a new ministry for the community? Hey, I'm going to do, a Zoom call with, a 30-minute workout every day, and I'm going to do it, at this time and at this time or whatever. So that way people who are, want to do it in the morning or want to do it in the evening, they could do it. And now they're getting exposed to your church.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, even if you don't, all of a sudden do 10 push-ups. Now let's quote John 3:16, do another 10. Now John 3:17, right? Like even if you weren't doing that, if you're like, look, we're just working out. I'm here at the church and, this is just something we want to do right now you are building bridges with people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, what is it? Easter and Christmas when most people go to church?
Yeah.
Well, if you're building that bridge, maybe they don't come around until Christmas because I don't know what Easter's going to be like this year.
Yeah, probably not.
But
probably not Easter.
Right. Maybe they don't come around until Christmas, but they remember you. And what if you kept up that personal training ministry of yours?
Yeah.
I mean, imagine what that could do for your community, for your connection with your community, and therefore spreading the gospel. I mean, this is an opportunity like we've never seen before.
Oh, totally. Well, and it's like you guys are normally talking about on the podcast of, trying new ministries that essentially get people engaged with you. Because once you get people engaged with you, it opens up a relationship. It opens up possibility to have conversations, being comfortable. And right now it's such an easy time because people have the time, like in so many ways that they normally don't have the time. It's like people are, I'm sure, exercising more than ever because they're sitting around at home all day with nothing to do. and people are so much more open to, doing something in a non-committal type context, like a video chat, and then, it can turn into something way more when this whole thing is over.
Right. Yep. So again, guys, if you want to check out this live stream, this is going to be obviously a shorter podcast because we really just wanted to give you some ideas and point you to the live stream. Head on over to churchplantermagazine.com/120, and you can watch the replay of the live stream that Travis and I did. And it's going to be well worth your time. I mean, I think the whole thing was it was an hour and a half, but that's because we took a half hour of questions. Mm-hmm. So you can just hear people's questions, what the answers are.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding, guys. If you're running a church right now, you've got to go check out this live stream. Like, you need to see what is available to you right now, what you can do, how you can reach your community for essentially, pennies on the dollar. $2,000 for basically a lifetime of ads.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's insane. So,
well, and the really big thing about that, and we go over this in that live stream, is that, you can do things, as you've probably heard talked about before, like SEO for your church website, stuff like that. That stuff takes time, and usually takes a lot of money over that long period of time.
Right.
But right now we don't have time. Like, if you want to capitalize on what's going on and really be able to leverage that, you have to do it quickly, because the reality is it's going to take years for you to be able to reach some of those really top spots that people are wanting. Or, as Pete always says, you can just run an ad and you're at the top tomorrow instead.
Yep.
And so you should definitely check that out.
Yep. So again, guys, check out churchplantermagazine.com/120. Travis, thanks for being on today and doing this podcast, this little mini podcast, if you will, and giving people some great ideas. And I'm just going to encourage you guys to go do that. And we might do another one of these next week. We'll just play it by ear. If you guys heard last week's podcast, Peyton and I are taking a little bit of a sabbatical while Peyton's finishing up his book. So we plan on being back from that in another 3 to 4 weeks. And so we might do, I might do another one here with Travis. We'll see how this one goes as far as what people respond and what questions they send in, and we'll go from there. So Travis, thanks so much for doing the podcast with me. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And if they need that nonprofit status, is it something they can go to?
I don't know if they do that though. I don't know if they do.
I thought they did. That would be a really bad ad spot. They do this thing. No, we don't.
I don't know if they do or not. Like, I know they do bookkeeping and payroll and everything else. And that, of course, is simplifychurch.com, guys, which, thank you for reminding me to give them a plug. But, I honestly, I don't know if they do 501c3. I know you were telling me it's actually not that hard to get your 501c3.
It's not that hard. Sometimes it can take a while to actually get it, but usually they give you like a temporary, not temporary number, but like temporary privilege until it's completely confirmed. But if you don't have your 501c3, we talked about this on the webinar, you need to get it because there's a lot of reasons, but you just need to have it. And it's not that difficult. It barely costs anything. But you need to get it, especially if you're going to take advantage of the ads that we talk about in the webinar.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right, guys. We'll be back another time. I don't know when. Could be next week. Could be after the apocalypse. We'll all find out soon enough.
Shut down the airwaves.
Yeah, exactly. And just remember, if you want to reach the ones no one's reaching, wait. You can't really go where no one's going, but you can do what no one's doing.
You can stream where no one's streaming.
There you go. There you go. All right, guys. We'll talk to you all later. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us for another weekly episode of the Church Planter Podcast with Pete Mitchell and Peyton Jones. We'd love to hear your comments on this episode of the Church Planter Podcast. Visit us online and let us know what you thought at churchplanterpodcast.com. If you subscribe to us via iTunes and have enjoyed the podcast, leave us a positive review. The more positive reviews we receive in iTunes, the more iTunes will promote us to other church planners who would benefit from this show. This podcast is brought to you by the Church Planter Magazine, which is available in the iTunes newsstand or online via churchplantermagazine.com.